How would you like $150,000 towards a down payment on a home? But not for you. For people who just got here. Let's talk about it on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Kimberly McNabb, and with me is Barrett McNabb. Per New York Post, California legislature has passed a bill that would make the Golden State the first in the nation to offer down payment assistance to illegal immigrant homebuyers for up to $150,000 via a state taxpayer-funded home loan program.
That just sounds wrong to me. That sounds wrong. I mean, that's way more than the down payment was for our house.
Well, we're not in California either.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But still, that just seems like it's wrong.
Well, per National Review, eligible prospective home buyers are selected for vouchers via a random lottery. So the rest of us have to sign a stack of paper that's tall enough to be my booster seat, but they just have to sign up for a lottery? I mean, really?
Well, you know, this just goes again to show that there is this. I understand when you talk about great replacement theory, most people, we've talked about this on the podcast, that a lot of people are fear-mongering, saying this is a replacement of white people with black and brown people, and really it's not that. The people that latch onto that as a dog whistle, I think it's disingenuous. It really goes to show what the federal government and what liberal state governments are doing in order to increase illegal immigration into our nation by offering programs like this.
They're replacing Americans, brown, white, black, alike.
I mean, so just to be clear, this is, illegal immigrants are being able to put in for this lottery ahead of African American Californians, ahead of Latino Californians, ahead of Asian Californians, to help out this pouring into our nation of illegal immigrants.
Yeah. Well, the California Dream Program requires first-time homebuyers to meet the Federal National Mortgage Association standards, including having either a valid Social Security number or an individual taxpayer identification number. The bill appears to be targeted at so-called dreamers, meaning illegal immigrants who were brought to the United States as children and who are in the county with deferred action or childhood arrival status. But I'm sure it's going to extend beyond that. But the problem is people don't read bills, right? I mean, come on, when was the last time we read a whole bill? I mean, sometimes these things read thousands of pages. But they'll just read the headlines, and it's further incentive on top of the free food, the free hotels, the free education, free medical care, free trans surgeries in California, that it'll just further incentivize them to come. But, one thing that I took away from this that maybe other people didn't is it passed both parts of the state government. Now it's waiting for Governor Newsom to sign it. And, at first thought, you're like, well, he's a left-wing leftist. Of course he's going to sign it. But I'm thinking, well, we were thinking, a year ago, we're like, oh, well, Biden is so, mentally declined that maybe they could replace him with Gavin Newsom. Maybe they could replace him with Michelle Obama. No one really considered Harris to be a serious contender for that spot. So if Newsom is really going to vie for a federal position one day, I think it would hurt his chances if he took such a left-wing stance on this.
I think you have a point there, because when you look at what Newsom does, and really when you look at what any liberal does, they are progressive and they go full throttle with all of their pet projects until it starts to come up near Election Day. And then, just like clockwork, they start slowing down. They ratchet it back because people are paying attention to what they're doing. So, for example, there was this
Harris backpedaling on all the left-wing stuff. No
exactly.
EV mandates. No, I love fracking.
Yeah, and no, we need to make sure that we have a bipartisan border bill that stops illegal immigrants. Man, this kind of stuff could have been done with the Harris Biden administration executive action, an executive order situation where they immediately tore up all of Trump's executive orders and executive actions and just let this pour through. So, if it's true and the liberals are allowing illegal immigrants into the country, which they are, and there are California sanctuaries that liberal mayors and a liberal governor are having, I think you have a great point that he may want to ratchet that back and say, well, look, we passed this awesome thing, so we get to talk about it, but I'll veto at the last second. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to do what they think they can get away with.
Sure.
So if he thinks he can get away with it, I think he'll sign it. If he thinks it'll hurt him in future elections, I don't think he'll.
Well, so
sign it.
This is
I think he wants to.
Yeah, well, I mean, this just goes, and this is not what this segment's about or this video is about, but just recently, Governor Newsom over the past few years passed legislation that established a committee to study reparations for past slavery, and the recommendation was to give this insane amount of money that nobody could afford in any way, shape, or form. So there were two bills that had passed, both the upper and lower house in California, and they were going to be headed to Newsom's desk. And there was this feeling that Newsom was going to veto it. Now, he got the street cred for making the committee, but when they came back with this eye-popping amount of money for reparations for a state that never had slavery, I mean, just to be clear, yeah. there was discrimination, but this is talking about giving people $1 million, every black person $1 million and up. Some I think figures were like $7 million, and it was just crazy. So anyway, he did approve the commission and the committee, but and they came up with their proposals, so he got the street cred for that. But then when they came back with this insane amount and these bills that were sponsored by African American state legislatures, they are rescinded them. They kept them in committee, didn't push them forward to Governor Newsom, and I think it's because Governor Newsom, this being so close to an election, that would have been the news cycle, and so he wasn't going to approve them, and so there were a lot of protests in Sacramento. Just over this past week, with people that were in favor of reparations, were really just clogging up the Capitol. So it's to your point. I think you've hit the nail right on the head. Something that is going to be so controversial is going to get pulled back because we're November 5th is coming up fast.
Yeah, I mean, so it's going to be political calculus. I think he wants to, but yeah, just whatever he can get away with. I did hear a funny joke by Adam Carolla.
Okay.
He goes, well, so what if it's $150,000? You can't buy a cardboard box to live in off $150,000 in California. That is so true. When we lived in Monterey, California, we had a 900 square foot apartment.
Right.
And it was built in 1960. The circuitry in that place was so bad. I could never vacuum. I could never blow dry my hair.
No air conditioner.
Yeah. $2,500 a month in 2010.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's just how ridiculous the housing in California is. But, if you really want to address affordability in housing, you need to cut regulation, not give money away in the form of a direct check or credit. Because I was listening to Carol Roth, and she wrote the book, You Will Own Nothing.
Okay.
And she says that of the cost of a new home, on average, $100,000 can be attributed to regulations.
And that makes a lot of sense because, I know that I forget what year it is. I'd have to go back, and so I'm not going to say a particular year, but let's just say what's within the past 10 years, California has mandated that all housing, new housing, be wired with solar. right?
Yeah,
So
which makes it way more expensive.
Way more
I'm
expensive.
sure California is way on the higher end of those averages.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. But to go back to Adam Carolla's point about you can't get a cardboard box for $150,000, where is this money going to be targeted? Again, it's targeted to illegal immigrants, and I don't know the demographics or the population of how many illegal immigrants are in LA and San Francisco, where that would get you a couple of blades of grass, right, for 150. But areas like Salinas, where there is a heavy migrant, farm worker population that are, picking, all kinds of artichokes and citrus and things like that. And, Gilroy, you have all the garlic and things like that. So, I would say that those areas, the housing prices are probably less expensive than in LA and San Francisco. So this would incentivize people to head towards those areas where they could get migrant farm worker jobs and then get housing there.
Well, that's definitely a possibility. Now, I heard an interesting theory about this, and the theory is, well, it's a lottery system, so they don't have to fill it. There's fewer loopholes than the rest of us. And if they don't have to put any of their own money down, the government just gives them the down payment. I mean, we've seen similar things like with the 2009 bubble burst,
Sure,
right?
Right.
Because there were all these loans that people didn't really qualify for under
Right.
normal circumstances, and then all these people foreclosed on their houses. So the theory is these people are not going to be able to pay these, quote, loans, and then the bank will own them. BlackRock will own all these homes.
Right. But they would have gotten a valuation out of it of $150,000, for this supposed down payment, and so they basically make money on this deal. I mean, that would be crazy to be able to foreclose and then already have $150,000 sunk equity into it, and then you've got this. Let's just say that the average home in California would be somewhere in the near 2 million range. Because I've seen YouTube videos of people building houses all over the place, and they're showing it. So if you average what a 3-bedroom home in LA or San Francisco would be, and then average it with what a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom home in Salinas would be, if you average all that out, you're still going to be probably looking at least $1 million, maybe two. And so they're going to grab this loan or the house on the cheap, and that makes complete financial sense to them because is it going to be for existing homes, or is it going to be in conjunction with a California state mandate of building affordable homes? You have a lot of companies in Nevada that are building these small homes, these teeny homes, and so with them selling those particular homes for $150,000, if you grabbed a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom teeny home that has a loft or something like that, then all of a sudden you're paying for that thing in full.
Right. Well, there's so many regulations.
At taxpayer expense.
Yeah, there's such a housing shortage in California, and there's so many regulations. It makes it nearly impossible to build a new home. So,
Right.
I mean, people would have to do something.
So these are like boxable. These are prefabbed homes, and I don't know. Again, we'd have to read the bill in order to find out what's in it, right?
Yeah.
Famous Nancy Pelosi quote for the Affordable Care Act, but we have to pass it before we know what's in it.
Oh, geez.
But would there possibly be a carve out for these prefab and manufactured homes that you're just buying it either in state or out of state and just transporting it in?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure they'd try to stop that somehow. I don't know. But, the state's job, I wish the government would stick with what they're supposed to do.
It'd be nice.
Right? Yeah. So they're getting into things they shouldn't be getting into and not doing their job in things that they are supposed to be doing. The government's job is to protect us from threats, foreign and domestic.
Right.
And not only are they not arresting illegals, they're freaking incentivizing. So they're doing the opposite of their jobs. I mean, they're getting into stuff that's not theirs, like getting into the schools and trying to train the kids and teach the kids this transgender ideology and not protecting us. Like, focus on your job.
Yeah, that's a the big difference between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party is when you look at all the stuff that the ankle biters are abortion, trans rights. Those are dog whistles to keep you.
They don't
keep
affect
you
everyday life.
They don't affect everything. So the big stuff, conservatives and Republicans are for a small federal government and more states' rights, and the liberal side is big government and big federal government, right? And so the problem when you start looking at all this stuff is it comes down to resources. What are we willing to spend our resources on? Because they're a finite amount. There's a finite amount of resources. And so my mother always said, do the things you have to do before you do the things you want to do. So there is a lack of affordable homes, a housing crisis, if you will, in the United States. And I would strongly say that in order of precedence that you need to be looking at is taking care of Americans first, U.S. citizens first, whether that is giving housing to elderly Americans, to veterans, especially making sure U.S. citizen children are housed way above and get homeless down for our citizens.
Yeah, I believe there are 1 million homeless people in California.
But I I don't know what the breakdown of who classifies as homeless when it comes down to legal U.S. citizens or illegal immigrants, right? So I don't know, but that needs to be found out via either a census or something like that. But I would say that as soon as we take care of U.S. citizens first, then we look and see what the resources are for other people. But that's the biggest thing is looking at taxes that are taken from us to have illegal immigrants come in and get Medicare and to get Social Security when they haven't paid in. I mean, ultimately what that's going to do is it's going to take money away from people who have paid in, and it's going to give them a shortfall in their Social Security checks.
Yeah, well, it seems like the more the government gets involved in stuff, I mean, the worse things get because they focus on the wrong things. They don't prioritize us. They spend all of our resources on people who haven't paid in to the point where we're just going to collapse. And so, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, the government should just shut up, go the way of President Biden, go to Rehoboth Beach and on a permanent basis.
Right. Yep. And in retirement, and he can just sit there and watch the waves come in and out. But we saw this, and we were, this is the kind of thing that we need to be talking about because this is your taxpayer dollars. I don't care who you are, you're paying into the system, whether you get a refund or not, but you still pay some sort of taxes. And to have your tax dollars be misused to the benefit of somebody else that's in the country illegally, we really
you can't afford a home.
Exactly. We really wanted to bring this to your attention. So thank you for tuning in to Azimuth Podcast, and please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.